Welcome to From Head to Heart and Home, the channel created by women for women to create inspired action with your host, Shanda Soretti, certified coach, and Carla Center, subconscious healer and relationship coach. So today I'm super excited because today we're going to talk to Shanda and learn some more about her, get to know her, what she offers, and just let you all really get to bask in her magic. So first thing I want to ask you, Shanda, who are you in this world?
Hmm. Yes. Okay. So I will do my best to keep my answers on point. Having said that, I can't guarantee that that will always happen or always be the case. So who am I? I am a loving, nurturing entrepreneur, mother who is so passionate about Mother Nature and animals and life. I like to call myself a seeker. So, for me, since I've been on this journey, and even before, I was always curious about the world in general and curious about the human mind. I remember the first time I got my hands on a psychology book and it blew my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? And I need more of this. So I'm definitely a seeker. I'm definitely somebody who's passionate, like I said, about plants and animals and people. Um, and I love being outdoors. I love music. I'm pretty goofy, even though you might not know that from most of my content, but I do like to fuse that in there when I can. And I'm just somebody who follows her heart. Yeah.
Beautiful. And let's have a brief history of what got you here.
Yeah. Brief. Okay. So, oh my gosh, where do I start? Okay, so I am an East Coastern Canadian chick. And I grew up in a very, very, very small town. I came from an entrepreneurial family. So my dad had a business. When I was 5, he bought a business. My grandparents had businesses. They had several businesses. So I grew up in and amongst that entrepreneurial spirit, and I found myself naturally gravitating towards there. So it's not surprising that I have my own business now. I had multiple businesses before as well that were very different from coaching. But so for me, what brought me here was my own personal journey. So I grew up as a youngster and I had some childhood trauma, which really weighed heavy on me and really impacted me at a very young age. I was the youngest of 3. I was so shy, like so shy to the point where it's baffling to some people that I'm able to do what I do today on screen with recording, talking to people, that type of thing, leading trainings and all that, because I was the kid who literally hid behind my mom. I did not use my voice from a very young age. I let other people decide for me and choose for me. And my goal was almost to like hide. I wanted to stay hidden, right? Because of the trauma. And so when I hit my teenage years, things started to get like more intense for me in regards to what had happened, into processing the trauma. And so I never learned how to process it because we're not taught that, right? We don't get taught that in school, and my parents didn't know anything
Wow.
about it. And so I started turning to different acts of like a cries for help, but they were very unhealthy. So I remember the first thing would be food, right? So like starving myself or not eating properly, depriving myself, so stuff like that. Um, it's interesting because up until probably 5-6 years ago, I never even looked back at my past when I was a teenager as being anorexic, but I definitely was, right? Like I was starving myself
Right.
and I played all the sports. And so looking back on some of my pictures, like I was so thin, but didn't think that I was thin, thought that I was still overweight. Um,
Right.
you could see my clavicle bones and like it was my cry for help. And so that was the first thing. And then it got a little bit more intense with dabbling with nicotine, so smoking cigarettes, right? Being kind of not a rebel, but doing bad things, right? Like being naughty and misbehaving. Um, Secretly maybe wanting to be caught, right? Because
Mhm.
again, it was my cry for help. And then it got into drinking, and then it got into recreational drug use. And so I talk a lot about my drinking because that was the thing that really haunted me and followed me for so many years, really impacted my life. Like I lost countless friendships and relationships. I was never able to find myself a healthy romantic relationship because of my addictions and my coping strategies. Um, and it's interesting because the people that I was attracting always were people that I would back in the day called needed to be fixed. Not that I was
Mhm.
perfect by any means, but that was my way to avoid my own healing. I would find others who were also struggling in some way that I felt I could fix them or help them in some way. And so instead of focusing inward on my own healing, I always focused it outward and I'd call myself the fixer, right? That was like my title. That was the label I placed on
Wow.
my head. And so, not a bit of wonder, I just kept manifesting that and creating that over and over and over again. And actually, right up until my current relationship, which is almost 4 years old, I did the same thing. Right. So, that was a pattern that followed me for so long. And doing this work has allowed me to, first of all, remove those labels, right? Um,
Yeah.
Heal my patterns and heal my past so that I can actually step up and be an example of what's possible for other people when they commit to doing the healing work as well for themselves.
Beautiful. How have you used all this experience from being the little girl hiding behind your mom and the trauma and all of this to work with your clients? How have you been able to use all your experiences to work with them?
Yeah. Okay. So one of the, I'm going to say, most challenging lessons that I've learned, there's been a slew. I could literally sit here and ramble on for hours and hours. We could have how many episodes just on the lessons we've learned, which is what
Yeah.
we do sometimes. But I think the most important lesson that I've learned, which is what I've been able to bring forward in my coaching and in my business, not only my life, but is that when we feel fear and when we feel resistance, it is the goalpost, the signpost for telling you to keep going. Like, this is the path. You're on the right path. So typically, I'm talking mainly about fear. And typically, what we do and what I used to do, and I still catch myself doing it because I'm not perfect, right? But I can be aware of it quicker and talk myself through it in most cases way quicker. But when we feel that fear, we want to stop, we want to resist, we want to hesitate, we want to turn back, we want to run away, we want to hide, right? So that's what I used to do. I used to literally hide behind my mom. And I'm talking about in front of family members, right? Like aunts and uncles and cousins that I shouldn't really feel that shy around, but it was awful. I remember it was awful. And
Mm.
everybody knew how shy I was. So they would even like kind of they would go all in on it even more, make it more of a big deal. So it was even, it felt even worse. So
Right.
for me, the fear of being seen, of being heard, of using my voice and of speaking my truth have been my keys to unlocking, my superpowers and stepping into being a coach who can help other people kind of find their way out of their darkness, right? And
Right.
I realized that when when we're in the dark, so like when we're not sharing stuff, when we're keeping things hidden, when we feel shame, that stuff can only exist in the darkness, in that solo place, in the loneliness, in the solitude. When we share, and I mean it could be sharing with one other person, when we start to share and open up, we shed a light on those spots. And when we do that, the shame cannot exist because there is no more darkness, right? So sharing for me was kind of my stepping stone or my like tiptoe into the deep end, so to speak. You know what I mean? I started
Right.
sharing as a teenager with only my closest closest friends that I felt the most safe with. And the most fascinating thing happened doing this, Carla, and I want to share this because I was like, I remember every time I was so blown away. I never spoke of, what happened, my trauma. And every year I would have this like breakdown. It was like the year would catch up to me of the hiding and the pretending and the avoiding would
Mhm.
catch up, and I would just have like a breakdown. And every so often I would share my traumas and my experiences with a girlfriend. And when I did that, what always happened was that I ended up hearing me too. So, not that they had the same story, but they had their own story. And so we were
Right.
able to share together, right? Sitting in our bedroom, sitting on the bed as, teenage girls do, and sharing these intimate, scary, shameful moments. And
Yes.
there's healing in that, because what we did is we created connection, we created a community. And I want everybody listening to understand so deeply that community does not need to be hundreds of people or tens of thousands of people. A community just needs to be you and someone else. It can be two people, it can start there.
Right.
So I don't even know what you asked me, Carla, but I don't know if I
You
answered.
you did great. You did great. So I'm going to ask you, and this is kind of tied to what I asked you. Why do you do what you do?
Okay. So, all right. I remember, I'll never forget what it was like growing up the way that I grew up, with my traumas, with my resistance, with my challenges and obstacles and my thinking and all those things. I'll never forget everything that I've gone through, how it felt, how I felt so alone, right? So isolated, so nobody understands me type thinking.
Right.
And then I started doing this work, right? I decided, hey, my life is not where I thought it was going to be. And that's okay. I was like, wow, hot damn. Let's do a little check here for a second. This is not where I thought I was going to be. I had no significant partner. I didn't own anything. Like I was drinking, like all my money went to my vices, and I was not happy. I was not happy. I was very unhealthy, like over 70 pounds overweight. I felt miserable. I couldn't sleep enough, but then I couldn't party enough. And when I started my healing journey, every time that I would gain a new insight or learn something new and create those shifts in my life, I just remember being like, the whole world needs to know that this is possible, that we can change our lives when we are willing, not ready, when we are willing to go all in on us, when we know, when we believe that deep down inside of us, there is something better for us. There's something greater out there for us, right? Calling us. And it was in my heart. And I was like, now that I know what I know, I have to share this with anybody who will listen to me. Right. And so I light up because I, I think it's so cool that somebody like me from a tiny little town, no blow, no Joe, nobody, no name, nothing special, nobody special, can be an example to people of what's possible. And so I want to bring that one home. Like, you don't have to be special. You don't have to feel like a unicorn to create these changes. It's for
Right.
everybody at any point in your life. I was 26, 27 when I decided to create my change for myself, but you could be 60 and it doesn't matter.
Right. Beautiful. Beautiful. What services do you offer your clients?
So, predominantly, I do one-on-one online coaching, and that has ventured out over the last couple of years into some in-person events. So, last year I found retreats, and I think it was last year or the year before, and the in-person aspect just as an extra layer. And then again, coming into community because it's a group of people, and typically it's been a group of women up to now, anyway, the date of this recording. It's been a group of women. And so creating that connection in community, creating healing in these retreats, these weekend retreats, is just phenomenal. And the profound transformation that women receive in these weekends is fantastic. And then my one-on-one, which I do online or over the phone, is also absolutely amazing because that's a longer journey, right? That's where when you want to create the changes like I've shared, I've created, and we journey together over usually the course of a year, 6 months to a year, depending on where you're at. And it's beautiful because a lot of times I feel like people get they get worried about like, well, I need to prepare for coaching, and I need to get ready, and I need to do all these things and have my ducks in a row. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You get to come exactly as you are on that day when we have our scheduled session. You get to show up as who you are, and I get to meet you there, and we work from there. So there's never work to do. Yes, I give action steps to take what we coach about on the call deeper, but it's such a beautiful thing because you it's like it's imperfect, right? It's like messy action. So sometimes people don't want to come to a call, or they feel like they shouldn't come to a call when they're having a bad day. And I'm like, oh, no, honey. That is when you come to these calls and you get the most, because you're having a bad day, you're resisting something, something's not working. We get to get under that and figure out what that is, right? So those are predominantly what I do: one on one coaching. I do in person retreats. I've dibble dabbled at starting up women's circles online and offline. And I do online coaching as well, online trainings. Sorry, I do those for free. I just had, it's called Rise Above the Past. I just had that last week, which is a super impactful training. I'll be hosting it again probably in a couple months. So stay tuned for that. But and outside of our YouTube channel here, that's the services that I offer right now to clients.
That's incredible. And her rise above, if any of you even have a twinge, very amazing and impactful. I've gone to them. Shanda shares her, not just her knowledge, but her heart in it. And you really will be like, wow,
Yeah, I love.
wow.
I appreciate you bringing in the heart aspect to it too, because I'll say the heart of my coaching, the heart of what I do is really heart, right? I learned somewhere along the way, I don't even know when or where, but I learned that love is literally the answer to everything, right? We were so blocked and trapped by fear. And it's fascinating to know that on the other side of all your fears is love. Is That's the transformation. That's the opportunity waiting for you. And again, like when we can look at fear as an opportunity for growth as opposed to like a block or a hurdle or something that will never be able to change or move, it's like so empowering to be like, okay, if I'm willing to work through this fear, by the way, that's only a lie, only something we fabricated in our own minds, then it's like it puts you back in the driver's seat, right?
Right.
Yeah. And
Right.
that's what it's all about. It's empowering people, right? It's being
Right.
like, hey, I want to shine the light so that you can shine your light with me, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So what sets you apart from other coaches?
So, my niche, I would have to say, is in the trauma world, and it can be dark and heavy, and it can be sad, and it can be deep, and it can also be fun and liberating and joyful. So, the example that I like to give is that I get to bring my unique flair, right? So, like I said in the very beginning, I'm a goofy person anyway. Comedy was something that got me through, and so has music. Music's always been my medicine. And so I like to bring those two aspects to my coaching. And when there's an opportunity to make a little joke or put a smile on someone's face, I will do it. I will take that opportunity every single time, right? Because it's healing, right? Smiling and feeling that spark, even if it's just for a second, that spark of joy and laughter and love. That's what it is, right? It's all
Right.
love. And so that's what sets me apart is that yes, we still do the work, we still do the heavy, deep lifting, but You might come to a call and you might cry. We might go so deep that you're going to cry and you might have a bit of a breakdown. But we will get you out of that and we will get you on the other side of that. And before you leave the call, you're going to feel better. You're going to feel lighter. So even when my clients experience that, they're still excited to come back next time. They're even more excited to come back because they want more of that release, more of that transformation, and more of that healing.
Right.
So being able to, bring who I am to these calls, to these sessions, to this work is a gift. It's like,
Right.
I don't feel like I need to put a suit and tie on and be all prim and proper. And to each their own. If that's how you feel, that's totally fine. But for me, I am down to earth. I wear t-shirts most of
Yes,
the
you.
time, right? And even if you see me out on the street, you will recognize me from my Facebook profile if we're Facebook friends, because I look and act the same. I don't change who I am from a coaching session to being out shopping for groceries. Um, talking about coaching, talking about healing, talking about growth. This is what I do day in, day out, whether I'm with clients or not with clients. It's just my passion. So, there's another great aspect. This is something that I learned from my dad, who was an entrepreneur, if you remember from the beginning. He had a plaque in his office that said, never, ever, ever give up. Right. And he
I love.
showed me what true passion means in business. And this man took a business that was insignificant to a business that was known globally, right? And it's so powerful to be able to kind of, I don't want to say walk in those footsteps, but to have seen that example of what's possible without proper training, without proper education, right?
Right.
And so I get to bring my love and my passion to what I do because it's in my heart. It lights me up and I can light up the world when I share it.
I love that. That your light and your authenticity really does shine through no matter what you're doing. I love that. And she's real about being a parent, so she gets to bring that aspect to it too. And I always love that because sometimes people think that we just dive into trauma and that it doesn't go out into our parenting. And you bring
Right.
that in, you share that, you're so authentic about it. And
Yeah.
that's one of those extra things I think that you bring that not everybody does.
Right. I also like to, and I appreciate that, Carla. Thank you. I also think it's really important, like we do on this channel, to share personal experiences, to share personal stories with my clients. So when we're in session and maybe we're coming up on something really challenging, I have no qualms to share a brief story. I do not make the session about me. I will add that because it's not about me, but
Yeah.
sometimes allowing the clients to understand that they're not alone and that you understand is really important because it creates that safe space. It creates that trust, right? So, um, I think it's really interesting to know too, like everybody brings something different. Every coach brings something different to the table. And it's interesting because over my time doing this work, I've been able to step more and more powerfully into my intuition and what that means for me and how to follow my intuition, especially in coaching. And I'm telling you, since doing that, my coaching has completely changed because what I hear people say time and time again is like, they're like, you nailed it. Like it's spot on. That's exactly it. Like when I describe something, it's like
Right.
I'm inside their head. And that is so powerful. Again, to create that connection and build that trust with clients.
That's beautiful. So share something people don't know about you.
Hmm. Something people don't know. Oh my gosh. Wow. Oh, here's a good one. Okay, I don't talk about this like much at all because I'm not a health coach. That's where I started, but I am not a health coach. So I am something called a carnivore. And so I only eat meat and fat. And I've been doing this for over a year and a half now, and it has been absolutely life changing. Okay. So I have an autoimmune and autoimmune disorder, and inflammation is the probably like the highlight of what that brings to my life up until finding carnivore. I literally tried, and Carla can attest to this because I used to share all the things that I would try with her. But I used to try every diet under the sun. I tried the autoimmune protocol. I tried juice fasting, which I loved, but didn't know what it was doing to me. And then lo and behold, I found carnivore. And if you need to know something about me, this will be a fun fact too. My boyfriend will totally back me up on this because he says it all the time. I am an all or nothing type person. I go all in on the things that I go all in on. So the first time when I changed my life, it was juicing. I juiced. So I decided I'm doing this. I woke up the next morning. I started juicing. I quit smoking, quit drinking, quit using recreational drugs, and quit eating food all in one night. I'm not advising people to do that. It worked for me, but that's the type of person that I am. So when I went carnivore, it was the same thing. I did it overnight. I did not ease in. I'm just all or nothing. So that's kind of a fun fact. If you guys want to learn more about that, feel free to reach out to me one on one. I don't coach it. There are brilliant doctors and coaches who do coach specifically, and I'd be glad to share those resources with you. But that is not something that I am at this current time open to coaching around. But it's a passion for me because it's really healed my body from the inside out. Yes.
Right. And she researched stuff, like she made sure she was knowledgeable when she went all in. Like
Yes.
that's the thing. If Shanda's ready, she gets all the knowledge she can and just goes for it. And it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah, and I definitely make sure I do my research, and I want to give props even though he probably won't listen to this episode, and it's totally fine, but my partner is so analytical and I am so not. And so he took the liberty, because he started with me. We did it together in the beginning, and he took the liberty to go even deeper into the science behind it, and we listened to countless of hours of research and medical doctors studying this research before we took the plunge. And as we went along, and we still do listen to the science, and it's amazing what we're taught versus what's healthy for us. So I'll plant that seed and I'll leave it there.
Right. Okay. What is a message you have on your heart that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Um, I think I already shared a smidge about it, but I'll share it kind of more in depth. And it again, it comes down to heart, love. Honestly, choosing love over fear is the answer to everything. Everything. So long as we choose love, we're in our body. We're in the present. We're living authentically. We're listening to, I'm going to even say, the universe or source. It's our connection to everything. When we are in fear, that is in our brain, that is in our mind, that's in our ego. And fear is an illusion, okay? It's a lie. And now, I'm not talking about like something that is like life threatening, like there's a lion standing in front of me or a bear standing in front of me. That's not, that fear is legit. But what I've learned is this, and I journal every single morning. I do my morning practices, and I came across this the other day, and because I was doing something around love, and I was journaling, and I was like, there's a difference between fear and danger. And I think what happens is we often blend or confuse the two. We think fear means danger, but that's not what fear means. Fear actually means opportunity. Fear means breakthrough. Fear means growth and expansion, and fear means healing. So I'm telling you, when you can transcend your fear, which I just did an activity last night and I'm mind blowing, my whole body reacted, right? So you're never too far along to release blocks, to release limiting beliefs, to allow yourself to up level. Like Carla and I are always talking about this because we're doing it too. We're always taking new courses, learning new things, going even further, going even deeper. There's no end. So It's like when we learn something, I like to call it we up level. So we gain
Right.
this new level. We it's like take a step up. And when you take a step up, think of it if you were like on a mountain. The higher you get on the mountain, the more you can see out, right? Out in the distance, what's out there. If you're at the bottom of the mountain, you can only see the face of the mountain. But as you climb, you gain access to more. And that is what happens in the healing journey. The more you climb, the more you're able to see, which then presents you with new opportunities that you didn't even know existed. And it's so, I think it's exciting. I honestly just think that this journey is so exciting. And the fact that there is no final destination is freaking awesome.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exciting and celebrating the stops along the way as we go through it.
Mhm.
So, what are you currently working on?
Well, um, uh, at the time of this recording, I just completed the Rise Above healing from last week. So the replays are coming down in a couple days. So I'm not going to dive into that. That is a reoccurring training that I do. So if you're interested, just follow me on social media and you'll get all the notifications there, or hop on my email list, which we can include the links below for people.
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely.
so right now, I am currently working on two beautiful in-person projects. One is the end of May. So I am local to New Brunswick, Canada. So anybody who is in the Maritimes, or if you're willing to travel to the Maritimes, I'm inviting you to join me for two events. The end of May, there is a women's. It's called the Sacred Soul, and this is a just an evening event where we are gathering in a small intimate group to do a cacao ceremony, some sound healing, and we are going to spend some time in a Nordic spa. So this is going to be just a beautiful, impactful experience for us to come together and just create some healing. And I'm collaborating with another local practitioner, so we're going to be kind of blending our magic together to create this experience. And then the beginning of June, I have a weekend retreat, which is, I'm so excited because I just added something yesterday. I have a couple elements happening. I'm all about collaboration, right? This has been like for a good year and a half, maybe even longer. Collaboration has been really at the heart of what I do. The more people, facilitators I can bring into my circle, the more healing can happen and the more I can offer, right? I don't want to be the one and done, fix it, do everything, because that's not how it works. I want to specialize and stay in my lane. So I'm co-collaborating with two other people, and one of them, they do something called 9D breath work, and it will knock your flippin' socks off. I'm telling you that right now. Carla probably knows a little bit about that because that's kind of in your realm of like what you do with the
Right.
subconscious. And then the sound healer who will be joining me in the other event is going to be coming back and doing some more sound healing with some more cacao. And then I'm going to be fusing some more of my other modalities, like some mana work and gentle body movement. So this one's called the Centered Soul. So this one is about connecting inward, while creating that community, that safe space with other women. And it's actually going to be held at the same place. It's a glamping dome resort. So we get to stay in these beautiful domes, and there's a beautiful Nordic spa that we're going to have access to, plus the healing, plus the grounds. There's like kilometers and kilometers of trails. We can walk down to the beach. There's going to be solo time for people to have their own time, plus the group stuff. So those are my two projects. And I always have the space or create the space to connect with people one on one if they're interested in one on one coaching. I might not always have availability or space at that time, but I'm always open to sitting down and having that conversation to see if this is the right fit for you. So if you're interested in learning more about what one-on-one coaching is, or what that next best step for you might be, then I would definitely encourage you to reach out to me. And if you want more information about those two events that I just shared, again, I'll drop the links below, in the comments, so you guys can go check those out as well, because I created Facebook events, so there's some more information there too. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. And we will have all of Shanda's links in there. And she showed me pictures of the glamping grounds. Absolutely gorgeous. So in addition to all of the amazing things that are going to happen that weekend, it is a beautiful place to be while you do them.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with our listeners before we go?
Um, One of my favorite sayings that I came up with, well, I was being coached one time actually. I was being coached in a large event. There was thousands of people in this event, and it was such a privilege. I want to share the message that came out of me during that time, and it's allow your desire for change to be greater than your fear of the unknown. Okay, so you can create whatever you want to create. Here's the catch: you will create whatever you give more power to, whatever you give more value to. So if you are giving more value to your fear than your desires, you're going to create and manifest more fear. So allow your desire for change to be greater than your fear of the unknown. And that will change your life.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. And it has been such a pleasure getting to interview you and share you with everyone. Shanda, her heart is always in everything she does, and you will see it. Join her social medias. You will get a taste of it. Reach out to her if you're interested in any of the services. You won't be sorry. And we are so glad that you listened to us today, allowed us to share who Shanda is. And any questions, there are links below. Make comments. If you're somebody who doesn't want somebody reading your stuff, you can always DM either one of us. We are always here for you. And it is a pleasure to share with you from head to heart and home. And if this is something that you think should be shared with somebody that just share the link. Maybe you're not somebody who's ready for what Shanda offers, but maybe you know somebody who is. So share, share, share. And all of her links will be below. So it's our time to say goodbye, and we will see you next week.